nice warm tea, we can feel stress-free. Soft voices and a lot of laughs, it's the Monday Podcast.
Hey there.
Hey.
How's it going out there?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Well, that's okay, Dave. I was actually talking to the audience as I do.
That's what you do.
Every
That's what you do.
episode.
Yeah.
For those at home, we have tried to record this intro a couple of times now. We're still getting used to the video world.
It's new.
But this is the Mundane Podcast with Chris and Dave. I am the Chris.
I'm the Dave.
We are here today to talk about something in the mundane world that you may not have thought about in a deep way, but hopefully we can have a little explore about that thing. And as always, Dave, I'm going to ask you. We've dived straight in, and I've already derailed it.
Yeah,
I dived straight in. I feel like, but after you derailed at the start, I then pulled it back, and I went, "Oh, we're going in quite quickly to the subject." But no, we'll keep going. I feel like it's got to be a little bit disrupted every time because we're human. Just ask some questions, and let's see if you can guess what today's subject is going to be about.
Okay. Is it a technological item?
It is not. Fantastic question.
Okay. Is it made usually from a particular material, such as wood?
What a good question. Yes, it is.
Good questions today, yeah.
These are very good.
Okay. Is it found... How many questions do I get normally?
You can have as many, because we're always going to get you to guess. I'm never going to just tell you.
It's better that way. Is it found in a particular room of the house, or is it something that could be...
It could be anywhere. It could be anywhere.
Okay. Picture frame.
No, but I was going to say close, but it kind of is, but it isn't. Those at home will know when they know what this episode's about.
A shelf.
A shelf! Well done!
Yes! Oh, I think I did pretty well there.
That was
good
incredible.
Questions lead to good...
Good questions lead to good...
solves.
Yeah, well done, Dave. Yep, today we're going to be looking at shelves, because I thought about this, right? So this is different. I think we'll do an episode one day on bookshelves specifically, because you can call them bookcases. This is just specifically the concept of a shelf. Okay. So the sources I've got today are journal.tightclo.com, which from what I can gather is like an interior design magazine, but it does have an entire section of its website called Shelf Stories, and they shop, and I think that you can buy shelves from them. But then when you go onto the shop, it says nothing here. But that's the article itself is called Spotlight on a Long History of the Shelf, which is was written in 2017. I've also got shelfology.com, a brief history of floating shelves and open shelving. So let's go first to the long history of the shelf. Okay, and it has a bombastic opening line that creates more questions than I was ready for. This is written in 2017, so this is pre-AI world. Shelf Day is on the horizon. There's a shelf day, Dave. There's a shelf day. But I type in Shelf Day, and all that comes up is Elf on the Shelf Day. But Shelf Day is on the horizon. Get to know a bit about the history of this indispensable piece of furniture and find yourself in awe of the shelf. Today, shelves are most often considered to be a functional item for storage, and that is all. But imagine a time when shelves held your most prized possessions, a papyrus scroll or freshly printed book from the Gutenberg's press, and imagine that history. I love that. So what I love about this, right, is that when you go like, what's an old thing that would go on a shelf? The first thing you would probably maybe like go to is a papyrus scroll.
Yeah,
you know,
why not?
Where else would you store them? Like imagine like in ancient Egyptian times, what else would they store on shelves?
Maybe like some little figurines of their gods. Figurines isn't the best word.
They have little. They have little.
The kids might. The kids might.
What are those little those pop things?
You'd put those on a shelf though, wouldn't you? If you had some pop.
Yeah, Funko Pops. That's what they're called.
Funko Pops. Yeah,
Sorry, everybody that was screaming at the podcast. Yeah, so they have little Funko Pops of like, oh, there's Horus. There's my favourite. That's just like sat on their shelf in Egyptian times. In my head, do you know, all I went to was just sand. They just have a pile of sand. They probably, just by nature of living in Egypt in They might just have sand on the shelf that might be more common than dust.
Probably
just like,
blew on there from the wind. I mean, a lot of sand.
Exactly. But they're just a little pile of sand. Like, where am I going to put all this sand? Maybe on a shelf.
But was it as sandy back then in prominent Egyptian times
I don't know.
as it is now?
That's a good question. Maybe when we do an episode on sand, we can do an investigation on this.
Yeah.
Okay. In preparation for Monday's Shelf Day, so Shelf Day must be at some time in March, must be the first Monday of March, according to this. We're providing you with some insight into that awesome piece of furniture. This is a beautifully written blog. Our lives have changed dramatically since the times of our ancestors. Today we thumb into tiny screens instead of scribble with quills onto scrolls. They really... there's no mention of Funko Pops. It's all about writing. It's all about the papyrus scrolls. But also, can't help but do a little dig on the phones. But even if we read less books, store less papyrus scrolls at home, or whatever your preferred pre-Kindle method of consuming the written word was, what has not changed is the special place shelves have in our homes. So let's take a moment to reach back into history and find out a bit more about the shelf. Just beautiful there. So, Dave, how often do you think of shelves? What is your opinion on shelves?
Well, strangely, I don't have a strong opinion on shelves.
Strangely?
Yeah. I think I've only ever actually put up a shelf myself once.
It is like the default DIY skill, isn't it?
I've never taken down a shelf, though. I've moved to places where there's a shelf, and I'm like, well, it's probably not where I would have put it, but it's a shelf, so it's useful. For something, I'll find something to put on there.
What do you often put on shelves? What are the most common things you put on shelves?
So for the one shelf that I put up, it's just got the Alexa speaker sat on it, and it's a tiny little corner shelf. Probably,
it's a corner shelf.
Yeah, it just sits on the corner. It's just big enough for that, really. And I just thought, well, there's a place for it to go. It's in the kitchen because I just use it for timers, and occasionally I'll put some music on it. But yeah, and I put up this corner shelf really badly, as it happens. It was my first bit of DIY in my new house. Didn't do a great job of it, and only after I'd put 2 of the screws in of the 4 for the shelf, I looked down and realised that I was drilling fairly close to where there could have been a cable. Turns out it was okay. Everything worked out fine.
That is always the perilous
bit of a
moment
rookie error there. Yeah,
that's the exciting thing, because you now own a house, so it's very exciting that you can do that. I'm still in a rented home, so like the idea of drilling in walls is just a distant off thought there. I have some shelves around my office. I actually just got some it's just a set of shelves for like a garage. They're just these cheap metal things with a couple of bits of wood. They were very easy. There wasn't any screws, which was quite nice. They just kind of clipped in, which was nice. And then just some bit of wood goes on. They're very light, but they're very practical. I'm a big fan of shelves. Using that vertical storage, I think, is very important. For years I had offices, and I used to have a little bookshelf, which we're not talking about today. We had little bookshelves that I'd like store my DVDs or my books on, and it never occurred to me that if I just had shelves to store I have lots of camera equipment, and what else do I have here? Tools and other bits that actually if I store them vertically, this is way better.
Yeah.
The idea of utilising that vertical space has kind of blown my mind. Yeah. Never thought about it.
Like in cities, how do you get loads of people living in one place? You build up, don't you?
That's what it is. It is the skyscraper of storage, the apartment block of storage, are the shelves. That is true. Any dream spots for a shelf?
Well, firstly, I think it's important to clarify, are we exclusively talking about shelves that are wall-mounted, or are we including any kind of freestanding shelves as well, which you might call a bookshelf, for instance? Because you said we're not talking about bookshelves.
We're not talking about bookshelves.
Yeah, because would they not come under the category of shelves?
That is true.
It's a bookshelf.
It is a bookshelf.
Still a shelf for books.
You call it a bookcase, don't you?
Is there an anything else shelf?
That's a good point. Storage shelf, I guess. Because also, technically, I know other people will call the stuff in the garage, they don't call them shelves, they call them racking. So they call it your garage racking, because I think that's what it was listed as when I was looking for it.
So, yeah, I mean, if all those shelves are included, I have plenty in my house I can talk about.
So, yeah, because obviously, I've maybe just not bookcases.
Yeah.
Because I feel like bookcases maybe have their own thing. We could probably cover them a little bit. I feel like we can't do bookcases too close to shelving in general. No. So it's like I wanted to do garlic bread when we did garlic, but really garlic bread is its own thing. It
does deserve its own thing.
It does deserve. It's in the category of garlic in the same way that bookcases are under the category of shelves. But no, so I found a list. This is from cutmy.co.uk, and this is the 8 types of shelves to organise your home.
Yeah.
So we've got floating shelves.
Yeah.
Bracket shelves, corner shelves, ceiling mounted shelves, pipe shelves, which is just like a shelf where the bracket is a pipe.
Yeah, I think I know the ones.
Wall mounted shelves, which is just freestanding shelves. So I suppose that's the key difference, isn't it? There is a wall mounted shelf and a freestanding shelf, and then also built-in shelves, according to this as well, which makes sense. So if I actually really think about it, there's wall-mounted, ceiling-mounted, I guess, technically, although even this blog does not have a picture of a ceiling-mounted shelf. So mounted shelves and freestanding shelves, I suppose that's the real difference if we're really breaking it down there. So the only time that I think about a ceiling mounted is like in a kitchen, like in a fancy kitchen where they have them like attached to the roof.
Yeah, I think that's, yeah. And what about hanging shelves? People get ones that are on sort of bits of rope to go for like a slight jungle vibe, maybe. Is that what they're going for? And they're kind of usually wooden shelves with sort of thin rope.
Okay, so we have hanging shelves, mounted shelves. Let's just say mounted in general. So we have hanging shelves, mounted shelves, built-in shelves, and freestanding shelves. I would say that's probably the key area there. I suppose the first question that I want to ask is, what kind of shelf are you, Dave?
If I was a shelf. Good question. I'm going to say a freestanding shelf because I think that I'm quite versatile. I can, maybe I could be accused of being a jack of all, master of none kind of guy. And, a freestanding shelf is versatile. There's many places you can put it. You can move it from house to house. And, I've moved around in my life as well in different areas of the country. So I'm going to say a freestanding shelf for that reason.
Like that.
Yeah. What about you, Chris?
I'm thinking about this now. I suppose I was originally going to say like an invisible shelf, those ones that just kind of floating shelf on like the wall. And I was like, but like I'm a warts and all kind of guy. Even on this podcast, I'm blurting out things. So maybe I'm more of just a general wall mounted, maybe a pipe shelf, with the little pipes as a bracket.
Yeah,
kind of thing. Maybe just with an old block of wood, just a cinder block, kind of a more rustic shelf. I suppose like it's also like, what do you store on that shelf? Like I am probably more likely. I feel more that I'm a shelf with like a plant and then like some other stuff that has no other place to go. Maybe a Funko Pop of your favourite favourite Egyptian god. That'd be even crazier. They had Funko Pops of Greek gods in Egypt. Maybe with like a key that someone's just gone, I've got this key, better not lose it. And they stick that. That's the kind of shelf I would be. Yeah. The other one my gut goes to is like an IKEA Kallax shelf, because they're just ubiquitous everywhere. Like the square hold IKEA shelves.
Are they usually white?
They can be white. They can come in any colours. I have a black one and a wood one, but it's always got the same kind of square things on. Those Kallax shelves are future.
I'm pretty sure I have a set of those shelves. I got them for free.
I feel everyone under the age of 40 has either a Kallax or an experience with a Kallax, even if you don't know yet. I got a little nice shelf that a friend gave to me. Never realised it was a Kallax. I went to IKEA and I was like, there's my shelf. It's the most common thing. And it's great because it's that unified squareness. You can get drawers for it. You can get cupboards for it. And that's the next thing, because when you think about it, and once again, this is fairly obvious, it's that shelves with doors on become a cabinet. But without, they just become shelves.
Yeah. That's very true, yeah.
So, like, we're really breaking down the definitions today. This is a very definition-heavy episode of the podcast. So, you're more of a freestanding shelving unit.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with freestanding. And yeah, maybe the sort of freestanding shelf that would just have bits and bobs put on it. There might be a few books, might be a plant on the top shelf.
Yeah. It's always a
cactus
plant.
Or something like that. And a set of keys, a remote for an old TV that you just keep in just in case,
Just in case. Like, because neither of us, I don't consider myself, as organised as I try to be, I'm not really a shelf that's going to hold boxes Like my shelves here just contain boxes of stuff. Maybe a couple of books. Maybe like I want it. I'm not even like an aesthetic bookshelf. You know, when people like try and do it all in the same colours and other things like that. I'm just a shelf of crap. The shelf of the things. I've recently moved house, and the thing I hate more than anything in the world is stuff where you don't have an individual box for it, like books box, DVDs, Blu-rays, gaming's like box, tools box, you know, lighting equipment box, but it's the little trinkets and little things. I hate it. I hate it so much, so much. I'd never want anything like that. But the thing is, I'm also a human being. And every once in a while, you know, you go, oh, that's cute. I'll buy that. That's fun. And then you just accumulate stuff. And the longer you live in a place, the more you accumulate that little stuff that doesn't even mean anything. It's just these little objects just showing like, oh, I like Funko Pops. Oh, I like this TV show. And I say that. And those that can see on video, I actually have 2 Funko Pops in the background. I did not buy them. They were bought for me. They are not Egyptian gods. They're characters from Adventure Time, the greatest TV show ever made. But we all accumulate them. And actually, to tie it back, that's the thing when it comes to shelves, isn't it? We're saying, what kind of shelf are you? It's not about what kind of shelf you are. It's about what you hold. Even when we're in shelf form, it's about what you have on the inside and what you are on the outside.
One of the things I've got on the shelf, I think it's moved now because my son saw it and took a liking to it. So I let him have it for a while, so I think it's maybe not on the shelf currently, but it's a grommet from Wallace and Gromit, and it's about this big. For those that are listening and not watching, I don't know, about 10 to 15 centimetres long, and you can do the proportions from there, probably, can't you, if you know what Gromit the dog looks like. And he's got a little solar panel on his back, and when there's light to power him, he just sort of wags his head side to side.
Oh, he's one of those
that.
little head waggies.
Yeah, little piece of genuine Wallace and Gromit merch that I bought in a gift shop in Wales, and it went on a shelf, out of the box and onto the shelf. Yeah. And
that's the kind. Would that be the kind of thing you would hold on you in shelf form?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a few bits of trinketry. Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. I'm trying to think of some other random things that I've got on shelves. I think I've got more than one money box knocking about that might be on a shelf.
Money boxes, shelves. Because once again, there's also shelves, and then there's mantelpieces. And mantelpieces also are like built-in shelves, I guess, but then they're part of a fireplace. Ultimately, though, when you think about it, they're just surfaces to hold stuff, versus like a table, which is like a surface to do stuff on, a workbench, stuff to do stuff on, a dining table to do stuff on. A shelf is a surface exclusively there to hold stuff.
I've just had a thought, right, Chris, kind of linking on to what you're saying. Can we live without shelves? Because
I think we possibly can.
Well, I'll say one thing, and then I'll say go on. Because you said obviously earlier that you put doors on it and it's a cabinet. But that cabinet, when you open a door, what are the things that you put the things on inside the cabinet? They're still shelves. They're just in the cabinet. So you can't include those. If you're living without shelves, you can't have any shelves in your cabinets. So
I think shelves are convenient.
Technically you can live, but
I mean, easy? You can. But I think like a lot of it, you know, not to go too deep on this, but like shelving is a perfect example of like a maximalist society, like the opposite of minimalism. We just have stuff. We have so much stuff. We need to pile the stuff on top of stuff. So in terms of what we need to live, not stuff that we like and that's convenient, but in terms of stuff that we need.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it would be what you define as need, because in my kitchen I've got cupboards with shelves in that I've got frying pans, saucepans, and I haven't gone excessively with the amount of things I've got, but I think I need shelves. Some of it's in drawers as well.
But once again, let's remove all stuff, remove all house, because as George Carlin once said, a house is just your stuff with a lid on it. Remove all stuff. We're out in the wild. We're in we don't build shelves in Minecraft when we build our little Minecraft worlds.
I mean, to physically live.
We don't need shelves. That's what need means. Not like what's convenient to do like with our lifestyle, but even if you lived and like day by day, you build a tent, you build a shack. A shelf is not something that you necessarily need.
No. Okay, yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
And I think like it's a nice thing, you know, as a society in a lot of ways, depending on where you are, we now have a place for our excess. Even if it's just storing food, like as we pile them up or we store our things, you know, when I imagine like a bomb shelter of things I need, it's always got shelves of like tinned food and all those things. They're not just in a pile in a corner.
And it'll probably still have an old mug with a few pens in it as well.
Yeah.
Right? I bet everyone's got that on their shelves. Have you got an old mug or a cup? I'll accept cup, or even just something with some pens in on a shelf in your house.
I don't anymore. I got rid of it.
But you did have one.
I did. Oh yeah, I had one before I moved house.
Yeah.
I always do this thing, and I think everyone does it. Like, when I moved house, I got rid of any crap that I didn't need. Anything that I was like, I don't need this bin. Don't need this bin. I do have this. I was bought this as a gift. This is a novelty giant pencil sharpener.
Oh, nice.
What's it got in it? Ooh, what's it got in it? Oh, it's just got a couple of bits.
Did
of
it come with a
screws.
novelty giant pencil to sharpen?
No, it did not. It's not really a sharpener. It's just a...
Oh, yeah.
So, but it's just a novelty giant pencil sharpener. How big? Like maybe 50, maybe about the size of David's Gromit nodding dog. Maybe a little bit big, a bit fatter at the top.
It looks a bit bigger to me, yeah.
And this was a gift for me that I love very much. Although, really funnily, at the bottom it does say it's from Suck UK. This was a gift for me that I couldn't get rid of because it was a nice little gift. And ironically, because I don't have a lot of display shelves, it currently just sits on my windowsill, which in a way, once again, is kind of a shelf.
Yeah.
This windowsill behind me is kind of a shelf.
It looks like it's supposed to be a pen pot.
I think it is. Oh, it is supposed to be a pen pot.
Yeah.
But once again, I don't have pens to put in it. My pens are attached to notebooks, and then I have a little drawer of pens elsewhere as well. So I'm trying to avoid it, but I didn't have the heart to get rid of this, and now I have a pen pot without pens, and I'm trying to find another use for it because I don't want to give this away because I'm too sentimental to throw away gifts, which is why I need shelves to put those things on. Because once again, I feel like shelves, as we'll get back to in the history in a minute, was often to store books and other bits, but to store your stuff to display, I feel that's quite a new phenomenon.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back to the history now. So this is once again from Journal. Shelves as we know them today in their most common household form descend from the aumbrey, little cupboards in the backs of Christian churches that medieval scribes would store their sacred religious writings in. This, of course, is hundreds of years, if not thousands ahead of some of the world's first documented bookshelves, which date to 544. So already, you know, we're not doing bookshelves, we're doing shelves. We're doing the concept of the little surface you put things on. So before the invention of Gutenberg's printing press in 1440, books were handwritten and kept in boxes, and they were carried to and fro for scholars. See, once again, this is before shelves. They just put them in boxes, which is a storage thing. Like, yeah, just think about that. Over time, libraries were built at the greatest universities, and the world's love affair with bookcases and home libraries began. But we're not going to be talking about bookcases today. I am determined to keep this focused on shelves. Okay. Today in the modern era, as electronic devices slowly replace the written, shelves start to serve a different purpose, holding a wider array of items than just book. That's how it's written. Than just book. Think about it. When was the last time you plucked a book off your shelf to really read? Most likely, you're keeping other valuable things up on those wooden slats. As your storage needs become more diverse, less standard book sizes, more fit to whatever I need to store sizes, you probably need non-standard solutions for your home. Never fear, you don't have to succumb to standardized shelves any longer. So we've now gone into, it's, you know, once again, it was like, yeah, bookshelves seem to have been the germ, the initial thing. So not to go down the advertising route of what this thing. The future of the shelf is perfectly fit to your needs, your space and things. Tyclo even goes one step further, featuring augmented reality so that you can see the shelf in your home. Wow. I've never needed a shelf that badly where I'm like, yeah, but what does it really look like? I need to imagine it.
It's putting a lot of thought into your shelf. I mean, I kind of respect it in a way that you would...
I respect it.
Put so much thought into a shelf, kind of like what we're doing now.
Exactly.
I wonder if anyone knows what the oldest known shelf is.
Well, we know there's aumbrays in the back of churches, so that's preceding 500 AD. Let's have a look. What was?
But you can imagine, you know, cavemen might have carved into the wall of the cave over time with their basic tools, shelves within the cave walls.
The cave walls. They would have these little...
Yeah, just carved in, like people with their minimalist shelves where their walls just got a cut out. That's still a shelf, isn't it? Even if it's sort of built into the wall.
It does all seem to come from, so aside from the Aubrey in churches, I've just done another search. This is from historyofinformation.com, which is a interesting website exploring the history of information and media through timelines. And it says here, possibly the earliest extant examples of wall shelving are in Duke Humphrey's library in the Bodleian Library. So, and that is 1610. So that, once again, that's just bookshelves though.
Yeah.
Shelving, I think, is back in the Aubrey, which in the wall of a church. Those little like holes, like indentations as well. You can get them in churches,
Yeah,
like
I'm sure I've seen them.
And they put little
candles,
little candles on, little speakers, little crosses. So these Aubreys, they look like the first kind of there's little cabinet versions, and then they're the little recesses in churches, church walls that things go on. So that's probably the first ever shelf. A recessed cabinet in the wall of a church for sacred vessels and vestments.
Well, we all need one of those in our house.
Yeah, we all need a little for sacred vestments. So doesn't that say about the secular rise of our society is that we replace our special vestments, whatever that means, or sacred vessels, and replace them with Funko Pops. Although, like I said, in ancient Egypt, they did have Funko Pops of like their ancient gods. So in a way, I did, every time I've typed in what was the first shelf, because it's now in my search history, it does keep saying, I typed in like, when was the world's first shelf? And then it changed it to what was the world's first Funko Pop. So now I want to know what that is. Do you know what the first Funko Pop was?
Can you tell me what year it came out?
Well, you're not going to know the first one because they're not real. It was based on a bobblehead.
Right.
So it kind of came from the little nodding bobbleheads. Which you have an electrical solar powered one of Gromit.
Yeah, I do.
But it came from, it was Big Boy bobblehead, and I think it was meant to be just nostalgia themed. And then the company's most successful line was the Pop vinyl figure, which debuted in 2010.
And I'm guessing the first one of those.
Yeah, there were quite a few different things. So I'll give you... So
yeah, I bet there was more than one released.
Yeah, it wasn't just one.
Yeah.
So this is...
And David Bowie.
No, it was Looney Tunes, the Flintstones, Yogi Bear, Betty Boop, and Peanuts.
When you said vinyl, I thought of music.
No, because they're made out of vinyl.
They're made out of vinyl, aren't they? That's the point, yeah. Well, yeah, I didn't get that, did I?
Okay, so let's go now to shelfology, to go back into the history of shelves.
Shelfology.
Yeah, shelfology.
Very modern name.
It is a very modern name. I feel like, is it related to sophology?
Like shacket.
Do you know what that word? Do you know what that's called? I know what that word's called, so I feel very smart.
What, when you combine two words? Because some of them can be really awful, like phablet.
What does phablet combine?
A phone and a tablet, apparently.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, I've not seen it widely used, but I heard it once or twice some years ago. I don't know what it's called.
Portmanteau.
A portmanteau.
That's what it's called when you combine two words.
Portmanteau. I like that.
There we go.
Yeah.
So, a brief history of floating shelves and open shelving. So this is more about open shelving. That's what this was. Open shelving. None of this cabinet, bookcase nonsense. This is open shelving. Okay, this is by Tony Jefferson for Shelfology, which I wonder if it's related to sophology. I like the idea of someone getting all of their home furnishings from like kitchenology, from cookology, from sofaology, from sleepology. That's where I want my bed from. And shelfology. Binology, wasteology, trashology, garbageology. Anyway, it hardly seems possible that there ever was a world without shelving and bookcases. See, he's even differentiated between the two. Thank you, Tony Jefferson. The history of floating shelves, like many design trends, is a story of evolution rather than a single invention. While a definitive inventor is hard to pinpoint, the concept of open shelving and its evolution into chic floating shelves we know today can be traced back to ancient times. Here at Shelfology, we're obsessed with all things shelf. Today, we'd like to drop a bit of knowledge on you about the history of floating shelves, kitchen shelving, and shelving in general. Are you ready? I love articles that start with "Are you ready?"
Yeah. Buckle up, guys.
That's a lost art. Buckle up. Okay. The first shelf. It's impossible to know exactly where, when, or how the first shelf graced the walls of our ancient ancestors. But tracing written records and architectural history, which I like to think that those at Shelfology did, and not just do what I did and just Google it until we found like a relevant article.
I hope so. I don't think they get to call themselves Shelfology, because it implies ology. I don't know, it makes it sound like expert,
Maybe, but maybe the company's just called Shelfology, but in reality, none of them are shelfologists. You need to be a shelfologist to really know. That's who we need on the show. We need a shelfologist.
Yeah, maybe it's just they're naming what they aspire to be.
Yeah, if they're a shelfologist, they must be really good at balancing things on their head as well.
Yeah,
that's part of the role. Like they'll sit there and you just put Funko Pops on their head. And they're like, fine with it. It's like, yeah, I'm a shelfologist. I feel like that's all Funko Pops. Like, Funko Pops probably massively increased the purchasing of shelves. I'd like to see a direct line between that. That's because that's the kind of crap that people store on shelves.
I've got a good question to ask you. Okay, I'm going to throw it right out there. What's the worst thing you've ever seen on a shelf? Or things?
The worst things, I can tell you the worst things, one of my old jobs, they had a garage. Yeah. And in that garage, there was a windowsill, which isn't technically a shelf, but I'm going to call it a shelf. Oh, no, there was a shelf. There was a shelf in the garage because this garage used to be an old studio.
Yeah.
So they used to do recording stuff, which is why I was in there. I was trying to replicate to a studio. But what happened was there were bats in the attic of this garage. In the top space, and bats are protected so they couldn't get rid of them. But what happens is the bats would poop, and the bat poop was like crack for flies. And when I say the room was filled with dead flies, it was like disgust. It was eerie. Like I'm not joking. There were like inches of piles of dead flies in some bits. Oh. And in this little recording studio, and it's as you would imagine a recording studio, a giant desk with a shelf at the back, which is normally where you'd put your speakers and things like that, just covered in dead flies. Like some parts of it were like black with how many dead flies are on. And it was the most disturbing thing I've ever seen.
Wow.
And like you would hear the flies and the thing, and it was awful because they couldn't do anything about it. And obviously bats are protected creatures, fair enough. We tried to put in like fly collector things. It did not matter. We would literally like hoover and sweep up all these dead flies. And then after like 2 weeks, it would just fill up again. But when I first went in that room, it still makes me feel icky feeling like it. If I can find a photo, horrible. I'll post a photo, trigger warning now. And if I couldn't find a photo, I'll cut that off.
That was horrible. I can't believe what I've just seen, Chris.
Man, honestly, I will find a photo and put it in because it was grim, but it was like black. That was probably the most disturbing, the gross thing. The other, it's just trash. That's the other, just rubbish. Like I've seen sometimes on a pickup. I don't know whose it was, and I don't want to call them out because it's one of those things. Because this is the problem with surfaces, right? If you have a little end table is like the shelving of tables. On an end table or shelves, I've seen like just like rubbish before, like wrappers just being put on things.
Yeah,
because I think someone will like, oh, this is on the floor, I'll put it up and put it there. Then when I remember, I'll go put it in the bin, which is one of the downfalls of those surfaces because you're like that. And on a higher shelf, may not be in your eye line, you might not think about it. So I have seen like rotten chocolate. Like, well, I suppose rotten is probably the over-exaggeration, but like melted chocolate. That's probably been the worst thing. What about you, Dave? What's the worst thing you've seen on the shelf?
Well, when I asked you the question, I hadn't thought of kind of going, like thinking of that kind of thing, like dead animals on a shelf kind of.
Dead animals.
I was just sort of thinking still more of stuff that people put on shelves in a slightly more normal context, I suppose. But no, not that I don't like your answer, because I think that's the worst thing I've heard of being on a shelf.
It's always like, have you ever found a dead spider on a shelf? Just like a little dead spider? That's always a bit disturbing.
Yeah.
It's just like that, like he's gotten to like this clip and he's like, now I can watch the sunrise here. And just bleh.
They frequent shelves. Well, I mean, I see a lot of shelves because I deliver beds and mattresses for a living. To segue a tiny bit to give context to kind of what I'm saying of how many shelves I see, I had a conversation with my colleague about, I wonder what the record is for the number of different bedrooms two of the same people have been in together is. It's a very specific record that probably isn't recorded, because we've probably been in thousands of different bedrooms together and through other rooms too, so many different rooms.
Just how many rooms you've been in with someone else.
Yeah, we sometimes when we compliment someone's house, we're like, oh, it's really lovely wallpaper, and oh, thanks. And we say, yeah, we see a lot of houses.
That's true.
That's good wallpaper. But the one that kind of made me sigh the most, and I probably have seen it more than once, it obviously wasn't a grown-up's room. It was just a load of empty Prime energy bowls like they were collecting and it just made me think of the times, and I don't know, how today, and like, wow, yeah, Prime energy. Yeah.
I know people do collect that stuff like quite weirdly. I remember it was a big thing at uni. I remember like you'd walk past all the probably still maybe not as much today. You walk past all the student flats and you'd see like the windowsill, which once again we'll say is kind of a shelf. The windowsill is just like filled like with like either energy drink cans or beer cans.
Yeah,
just
or
like
spirit
piled
bottles.
up. Yeah, just like big ones piled up.
I kept one or two bottles that I thought, like, this is a cool bottle. I feel like it's a shame to throw it away.
Yeah.
Did you ever have? This is another segue, really, but it's it just popped into my head. I think it was a green bottle. It was like a goblin's head or something like that. It vaguely rings a bell with that kind of looking like that, but it was a really cool bottle. I don't think I kept it though, because I've obviously not seen that one for a long time. It was in the uni days.
But that's the thing, right? What's the point of these things? We have these things, and then they just eventually disappear. Yeah, because there'll be things where I've had them on shelves and then I've moved house and then they've just been in a box for ages and I've gone, what's this? Oh, I'll just get rid of it. But there's like this weird ephemeral moment where these objects that we have just exist and they're like, oh, they're also nice. That's a little decoration. And then just like, we can't be that emotionally attached because we don't miss them when they're gone. Like I still have like a couple of cuddly toys when I was a kid that I put on a shelf. I put that on my little Kallax because I was like, oh, that's a little memory. It's a little thing. But then like everything else, like those Funko Pops I quite like, but once again they were given to me. But like if I lost them I wouldn't be that sad.
No, but I mean, to be fair, one of my prized possessions is on the top of a Kallax, and it's my Lego Saturn V rocket model.
See, that's a thing for a shelf.
Yeah, it is. It has to sit on the top as well because it goes quite far across. It's about a metre tall, 1,969 pieces, 1969.
Okay, so we're running out of time, so just very quickly, looking back into open shelves and the way that Shelfology talks about it, the references it makes is obviously an Aubrey, which makes sense, but one of the things it also references that I hadn't thought about is stuff in like bars, like old bars. They would have shelves for all the bottles and things like that. So that is like a, so that era, where you put your cups, that's like a shelving for that as well. Before there were cabinets.
Bars that had the shelves above the bar.
Yeah, they'd always have little shelves above that. Those are my favourite. Those, do you know what? Cool. If that was any shelf, that's the shelf I am. I want to be that shelf. I want to be the little hidden shelf that when you work behind the bar, you got like when you ask the barman, can I have a pint? And then they just like reach their hand up, and all of a sudden they've got a glass from this magical hidden shelf.
Yeah.
And it often has that little like honeycomb rubbery bit, so it's not like pook. It's like it's got a nice little soft to protect it. It probably has a mild musky smell because it's been there a while, which let's be honest is kind of what I am already. But I like the practicalness of the little grippy thing on the bottom. So maybe that is ultimately, I've realised, Dave, the shelf I want to be. I am the little shelf.
It's a great shelf. Yeah.
That like
good
the cups
choice.
go. I like the ones that it's not really a shelf. I don't know what you'd call it though. You know the things that they hang wine glasses off, where it's like a little ridge, and then they just kind of slide them along. I quite like them as well. That's a nice, and that's good utilisation of vertical space. And I feel like we need more of that in our life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I suppose to everybody else, use height. Think about some of your things. Do you need some of the... I'm not going to judge you. I don't know why I'm saying this. You can have whatever you want, man. That's fine. We need what we can to get by in the world today. But just think about what kind of shelf are you? Think about what kind of things do you want to hold? What kind of things do you hold inside? Because ultimately, you don't judge a shelf. You don't judge an empty shelf. You don't judge an empty shelf. You judge what's on the shelf.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I couldn't have put it better myself. I was thinking also, don't judge a bookshelf by its cover.
By its cover?
But it doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So, just remember, it's not about the shelf. It's about what's on that shelf. What does it hold? What utility does it have in that time? Shelves can be very useful and shelves can be very useless.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it's about what they hold. What the things they hold matters to the owner of that stuff.
Yeah,
so
that was
I guess
beautiful.
with that, it's just to say that I love you, those listening.
I love you guys too.
And I
Thank
hope
you.
you're having an amazing week, and I hope to hear you again soon. To hear you again, to see you again. I hope you hear us. Let us know how you're doing. Send us a comment.
Yeah.
That's always nice. That also helps us. So send us a like or a comment. Share us with a friend. But also just focus on having the best kind of week for you. Think about what are you going to put on your shelf. And by shelf, I mean your week. I'm going to keep pushing this metaphor until it makes sense. But with that, I just want to say one last time, I love you, Dave.
I love you, Chris.
I'll talk to you guys in a couple of weeks. Bye, bye, bye.
Catch you soon.
Sister Monday podcast.